In 2019, a hedge fund manager walked into a boardroom expecting to close a $340 million acquisition. He had the leverage. He had the lawyers. He had done this exact negotiation 17 times before. What he didn't have was an understanding of strategic silence. 48 hours later, he signed a deal that cost him an additional $87 million. Not because he was outsmarted with words, not because of legal maneuvering, but because he couldn't handle the absence of them. I'm Dr. Mira, and what you're about to learn is why the most powerful people in the world speak less than you think, and how silence is the negotiation tactic they'll never tell you about. Because once you understand this, you'll see it everywhere. In boardrooms, in interrogation rooms, in relationships. And you'll never be on the losing side of it again. Most people believe negotiation is about persuasion. The right argument, the perfect counterpoint, the compelling data. This is what they teach in business schools. This is what fills the books on your shelf. And this is precisely why most people lose before they even begin. Because negotiation, at its neurological core, is not about what you say. It's about managing the other person's tolerance for uncertainty. And nothing in the human experience creates more unbearable uncertainty than sustained strategic silence from a position of authority. Let me show you why. The human brain is an uncertainty reduction machine. Every moment of your waking life, your prefrontal cortex is generating predictions about what happens next. When someone speaks to you, your brain expects a response. Not eventually, immediately. This expectation is hardwired. It predates language itself. It comes from our evolutionary history as social primates, where silence from the group meant exclusion, and exclusion meant death. When you violate this expectation, when you withhold the response the other person's brain is demanding, something remarkable happens. Their amygdala, the part of the brain responsible for threat detection, begins to activate. Not because you've said something threatening, but because you've said nothing at all. Within 7 seconds of unexpected silence, the other person's brain begins to interpret your lack of response as potential danger. Within 30 seconds, their cortisol levels measurably increase. Within 2 minutes, they will, in most cases, break the silence themselves. And when they do, they will almost always give you information they did not intend to give. This is not theory. This is measured, reproducible neuroscience. And elite negotiators have known it for decades. Let me give you the framework. I call it the 48-hour silence protocol. It has 3 distinct phases, and each phase exploits a different psychological vulnerability. Phase 1, the setup. This is where most amateurs fail before they even begin. You cannot deploy strategic silence randomly. The silence must be contextually unexpected. If you're known as someone who rarely speaks, your silence carries no weight. But if you've been actively engaged in a conversation, in a negotiation, in a relationship, and you suddenly withdraw all communication, the psychological impact is devastating. The setup requires what I call calibrated engagement. You establish a pattern of responsiveness. You answer emails within an hour. You return calls promptly. You are present, engaged, reliable. This is not weakness. This is the construction of the baseline against which your silence will be measured. The sharper the contrast, the more powerful the weapon. Phase 2, the deployment. This is where discipline separates the strategic from the impulsive. You do not go silent because you're angry. You do not go silent because you're hurt. You go silent because you have calculated that the other party needs something from you more than you need something from them, and you've determined that their tolerance for uncertainty is lower than yours. Here's what you need to understand. Silence is not the absence of communication. Silence is a message, and the message is this: I am comfortable with your discomfort. I do not need to fill this space. I do not need your validation, your explanation, your justification. I can wait. The question is, can you? In that 2019 acquisition I mentioned, the buyer went silent for 48 hours after the seller rejected his initial offer. Not 24 hours, not a week. Exactly 48 hours. Why? Because 24 hours can be explained as busy. A week can be interpreted as disinterest. But 48 hours is long enough to create doubt, short enough to maintain pressure. It sits in what I call the anxiety window. During those 48 hours, the seller called twice, sent 4 emails, each one progressively more accommodating. By the time the buyer responded, The psychological power dynamic had completely inverted. The seller was now negotiating against himself. Now, let me tell you about the third phase, and this is where it gets truly dangerous. The third phase is the re-engagement. And if you do this incorrectly, you undo everything. When you break your silence, you do not apologize. You do not explain. You do not acknowledge the silence at all. You re-engage as if no time has passed, but with one critical adjustment. Your offer has not improved. In fact, in some cases, it has worsened. This is counterintuitive. Most people think the silence is a tactic to make the other person miss you, to make them more agreeable. No, the silence is a tactic to make them reveal their true position. And once they've revealed it, once they've shown you through their anxious communications exactly how badly they need this deal, this relationship, this resolution, you have all the information you need to recalibrate your position. The hedge fund manager I mentioned? When he finally responded after 48 hours, he didn't increase his offer. He decreased it by $12 million, and the seller accepted, because the silence had already answered the only question that mattered. Who needs this more? But here's what I need you to understand. This is not a parlor trick. This is not something you deploy casually. Strategic silence is a scalpel, not a hammer. And if you use it incorrectly, the consequences are severe. There are 3 scenarios where silence will backfire, and you need to know them. First, if you are the lower status party in a negotiation, prolonged silence will be interpreted as incompetence or disinterest, not strategy. Status is contextual. If you're an entry-level employee going silent on your CEO, you haven't created leverage. You've created grounds for termination. Know your positional power before you weaponize silence. Second, if the other party has abundant alternative options, your silence is irrelevant. Silence only works when you are, in some capacity, non-replaceable. If you're one of 50 vendors bidding for a contract, going dark doesn't create mystery. It creates convenience for them to move on. Third, if you're dealing with someone who has a higher tolerance for uncertainty than you do, you will break first. And when you do, you've handed them every advantage. This is why the 48-hour protocol requires ruthless self-assessment. Can you actually wait 48 hours without checking your phone, without drafting and deleting responses, without anxiety spiraling? If the answer is no, do not deploy this tactic. You will lose. So let's talk about application. How do you use this today? Start small. The next time someone sends you a request, an offer, a demand that you would normally respond to immediately, wait, not days, just 3 hours. Watch what happens. In most cases, they will follow up, and in that follow-up, they will reveal something: urgency, flexibility, anxiety, information you did not have before. This is reconnaissance. You are training yourself to tolerate the discomfort of not responding, and you are training others that your attention is not freely given. As you build this capacity, you can extend the duration: 6 hours, 12 hours, 24 hours. What you're doing is recalibrating the expectation others have of your availability. And with it, you are recalibrating your value. But here's the sophistication. You must also learn when to break your own pattern. If you become predictably unresponsive, you've simply created a new baseline. The power of silence comes from its strategic deployment, not its constant use. Let me give you a concrete example. You're in a salary negotiation. You've stated your number. The hiring manager has countered lower. Most people immediately counter back. This is a mistake. Instead, you go silent. Not forever. For exactly 1 business day, 24 hours. During that 24 hours, the hiring manager's brain is doing your negotiation for you. Are they lowballing me? Is this candidate about to walk? Do they have another offer? Did I insult them? Every hour of your silence is an hour their uncertainty grows. And when you respond, you don't lower your number. You restate it, calmly, without justification, just the number. In most cases, they move closer to your position, not because you argued better, but because the silence made them argue with themselves. Now, I need to address the ethics of this because someone will ask, is this manipulation? Yes, unambiguously. But so is every negotiation tactic ever devised. Anchoring is manipulation. Mirroring is manipulation. Scarcity framing is manipulation. The question is not whether you manipulate. The question is whether you do it consciously and strategically, or whether it's being done to you while you pretend negotiation is a rational exchange of information. It isn't. It never has been. Negotiation is managed perception and controlled information release. And silence is the most powerful form of information control because it forces the other party to fill the void with their own projections anxieties, and assumptions. You can choose to be naive about this. You can choose to believe that fairness and goodwill govern high-stakes negotiations. Or you can choose to understand the game as it's actually played, not as you wish it were played. Here's what I want you to take from this. Power in negotiation doesn't come from having the best argument. It comes from having the best information. And the fastest way to extract information from someone is not to ask better questions. It's to stop talking and let their discomfort do the work for you. The 48-hour silence protocol is not about being cold. It's not about being cruel. It's about understanding that human beings are neurologically incapable of tolerating prolonged uncertainty from someone they perceive as holding something they need. And when you understand that, when you truly internalize that, you stop negotiating with words and start negotiating with time, attention, and absence. So the next time you find yourself in a negotiation, a confrontation, a high-stakes conversation, ask yourself this: who is more comfortable with silence? Because whoever can wait longer wins. I'm Dr. Mira, and if you want to understand the other invisible mechanisms of power that operate beneath every social interaction, every business deal, every relationship, I'll see you in the next video. Until then, practice the silence and watch what it reveals.